All right, hi, I'm Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Most of you, if you attend the church, you've seen me for the last couple of months. I am married to Sandy, and
Yes, Sandy.
we have 4 kids. Julian, who is 21. I have a son, Peyton, who is 16. And then we have 2 beautiful little girls, Paisley, who is 8, and Tegan, who is 5, about to be 6. My parents actually are here tonight, Delvin and Shirley. So I was born in 1978, and we attended St. Bridget's Church out in Stanton Township between Star Prairie and Deer Park. It was a little tiny church. So I was raised Catholic. I got baptized there. I attended catechism classes there. And I ended up getting confirmed, I believe, when I was 14 years old, something like that. But so I had God in my life at a young age, but it was the Catholic kind of style of things. It was just different. I believed in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I knew what it was. I remember one story from a very young age that I have, very vividly. It's crazy, but I was flying with Jesus, and it was a really windy day. I can tell you exactly what I was wearing, and it's always stuck in my head, and I don't know why, but I thought it was a cool story from being a child, because if I've learned anything through this, he wants us to be more childlike. Yeah. And so, if today I can feel like I'm still flying with Jesus, it's awesome. Yeah. So that's a little bit about my younger age and growing up. Then we hit my teenage years and are 12, let's say 12. I started chewing tobacco and smoking cigarettes, and got my first taste of alcohol. And it didn't go good. Everybody else was doing it. We snuck under the bridge in Star Prairie. We'd all take turns putting chewing and then throwing up in the river. But it didn't take long, and things just started elevating from there. By the time I was 15 years old, I pretty much wasn't listening to my parents. I was doing my own thing and sneaking out of the house at night. I'd sneak back into my mom sitting at the kitchen table, playing solitaire, waiting for me to get home. And it was about the only time she could ever communicate with me at that point, because I was not a very good son at that point. But she's tried, and so we'd sit at the kitchen table and we'd play the game of speed and try. She would try to communicate with me. I moved out not long after that, and basically was told if I didn't follow the house rules, I had to leave. So I chose to leave. I ended up about a year later. I dropped out of school too. About a year later, I realized maybe I wanted to go back and do this. So I talked to my parents about coming back home, getting back into school. I had to do some summer school programs at WITC in Richmond to get my credits back where they needed to be. And then I went back to school, and I did football that year. And then I went into the guidance counselor's office and made another bad decision. He told me that I was not going to have enough credits because he had screwed up and he missed a credit. Well, I kind of flipped out and didn't do the right thing again. So then the school board wanted to expel me from school, and I ended up having to go in front of the board and basically beg to stay, which didn't really matter anyway because I ended up dropping back out of school again anyway. let's fast forward 2 years. My brother, who was 2 years younger than me, was about to graduate. I believe it was around Christmas time. And he said, you know, I'm going to be the first one to graduate high school. And it ding, ding, ding in my head. And I said, you know what, I can't let this happen. So I went to WATC, and I actually knew the lady that was in charge of the program there. And basically told her that I was really busy, which I was working, but I needed to just do this as fast as possible. And within 2 weeks, I did a high school equivalency diploma, and which is all 7 tests. And I ended up getting my diploma, not in the mail, because it took a while to get in the mail, but I did graduate before my brother. So to me, that was I couldn't let it happen, you know. I thank God for him saying that to me, because I don't know today that I even would have had it if it wasn't for my brother. There's been, I only have 10 minutes up here, and there's so much that I could put in all this. So that gets me through until, the early 20s. And I basically started living in bars. I would drink till bar closed just about every night. And go home and do it all over again the next day. I remember it got to the point where we were sitting on a lake with my buddy Brian and another guy I know, and it was Christmas, and we were ice fishing, and it had been 2.5 years straight that I didn't miss a day of being drunk, not drinking, being drunk, and it wasn't a good memory to have. But I knew at a very young age that addiction was probably a problem, but I didn't do anything about it. I had loved ones. My family, I have an Aunt Debbie who prayed for us constantly, everyone in her family. And I just, you can take back and you can think back and say, I wish. But I don't wish. It wouldn't have made me who I am today. This is part of my rescue story. Every last little drip of it. God is great. And so then I got in some more trouble. Let's see, I think I got my first DWI. I have 4 of them. I'm trying to figure out all the dates, but we don't need to get into all that. But I got my first DWI in my young 20s. I believe it was 2004. It was hunting season up in Webster, and I pulled over on the side of the road behind the gas station because I knew I was too drunk to drive. Fell asleep with the key in the car. First OW. 2 weeks later, I was driving back by Trollhagen, and I didn't flip my brights on because I was trying to put a CD in the radio, and it happened to be a cop car I passed. Second DWI. Then we go down, not to mention, every time I ever got pulled over in my life, in my younger days, I got possession of THC and paraphernalia tickets. I have so many of them, it's ridiculous. Then we had a little bout of sobriety there because I ended up having to do a little bit of probation. And I was sober for a little over a year. And I went to a softball tournament where I bought, I think a case and a half of NA beer with me. And I might have made it through 2 cans before we ended up at the bar. And I was drinking really very good. It happened so fast. Like, I remember I was good, and then I wasn't. And then I started another habit of drinking. I ended up getting my 4th OWI, let's say, and in 2016. 3 out of the 4 that I got, I wasn't driving the motor vehicle, but I was still behind the wheel of the motor vehicle with the keys in the ignition. That 4th one I got just before they changed the law, because if you get a 4th one now, you lose your license forever. And I was able to get my license back here recently. But so I got my 4th OWI. Sandy was pregnant with Paisley. I basically got in front of the judge and took all accountability without having to draw it out in the court system. I just wanted to deal with it, get it over. And, you know, I was trying to start a family and do things right. I had a good job. My lovely wife came and picked me up from work because I didn't have, or from the jail. I was on Huber. About 3 months into it, her being pregnant, she started having seizures, and I was able to get the jail to allow me to come home and sit with her at home while I worked, and then did basically house arrest, which they didn't normally allow this, but they did. God is behind all of this, and then we got to a point where we were going to miscarry, and we ended up getting told that we needed to go home, and all we could do was pray, and that's what we did. And I don't know that I was praying to the God that I pray to today, but I was praying if there was anybody out there that could help us. And we have a miracle baby in this, basically. Because the next day the doctor called to do a check on us, and said, well, why don't you come back in? And Sandy's kind of laid on the bed with her arm over her head, and the doctor put the ultrasound on her belly, and I'll never forget, it said 158 beats. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he looked at me with bigger eyes than I looked at him. And he says, do you see that? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I don't get it. And well, to sum it all up, I think when she was born, there was a big kink in her umbilical cord. It was a perfect 90-degree angle. So I don't know if it was kinked at the time or something, but he saved our little girl that day. And she is a wonderful little slice of heaven. But so then we go on, and so we got our life together a little bit. We were still using, I was still drinking. We bought a house, had Tegan. But it wasn't long after basically COVID hit when I started using the meth. And we got married in 2020, September 19th, 2020. And except for the last 4 weeks, since then, our marriage has just been very rough. Meth, addiction, all of it, tore my family apart. It tore me apart. I got to the point where I didn't leave the bedroom. I was so depressed, anxiety-ridden. The feeling of not being there for my family, losing my kids, CPS got involved. It got really bad. I tried to kill myself twice. The first time I tried hanging myself, and I just remember I woke up and I tried to use an extension cord, and the extension cord was broke, and it didn't work. And then the second time, I was going to make sure it was going to happen, and I went out to a tree and I jumped, and it didn't work. It snapped, and I don't know how. I do know how, because as soon as it happened, I got on my knees and I just went, God, what do you want from me? Why? And that was the start of God coming back into my life, because I knew that moment that there was something going on. But it gets better. This is where he gets really good. So after I did that, I ended up going to jail yet again. I'd been arrested 7 times in a year. And while I was in jail, some of you might know Chris Lyman. He came to speak with me on a Saturday morning, and I didn't know him from anybody. And he just talked to me about being in jail and how he just got done with his 10 years of probation. And what I do remember is he said, "Can I pray for you?" And he had his Bible with him, and I said, "Sure, what not, man? What's it gonna hurt?" And as he prayed for me, I just remember going, "Why is this guy in front of me? He taking time out of his life for me." And what I know now is God put that man in front of me, because within 48 hours, I was on the jail floor at 3:37 in the morning, on my knees, asking Jesus into my heart. And I felt the hand of God touch me and take all those years of chaos and hurt. And, I always said I always wanted to be normal. That all left that day. I just want to be me. And that was the first day of me starting to live again. So I went from solitary confinement. They put me in a room with a bunch of guys, and I met a guy named Georgie. And I was only in there for a couple weeks, but when I left, Georgie gave me a Bible. Because I had been talking about this Chris Lyman and what had kind of transpired with me. And so he gave me a Bible. And I actually got the privilege 2 weeks ago to run into Georgie again. And when I realized who it was, I still have that Bible. I had to go sit a 9-month sentence, and when I went into jail, they let me bring that Bible back with me in there. Normally, you're not allowed to bring anything with you. But I took it in there with me, and I took colored pencils, and I have notes written all over it, and it's my Bible. But I got to meet him, and when I found out it was him, I went and got my Bible. I'm like, "Look, dude, your name's still in it." And it was cool and fun and amazing. But there was an even cooler part into this too. After I got out of jail, then with my Bible, I came home and I was telling my wife, "I want to start reading the Bible. I want to start doing God's life for me." And thing was, as I was trying too hard. I was trying to be, God's A1 student, and I had no clue what I was doing to begin with. But I was reading verses, and I was trying to understand them, and I didn't. I still didn't get it at that point. But one day I walked outside her door, and there was 2 bags of groceries and a note from a lady named Odessa, who and she left her phone number. And she said, God told me that I needed to help the people in this house. So I called her and to say thank you and just try to understand a little bit why she did it. And today I understand why she did it, but I didn't understand then. And so I talked to her, and about a week later, I got a leather Bible from her from Amazon. She sent me a King James version of the Bible. And about a month ago, I found her on Facebook, and I didn't know if it was her, but he told me it was her. So I sent her a friend request, and we've been messaging back and forth, or we did for a little while. And she said, "Hi, how have you been?" And I said, "Boy, I've been great." And I said, "I really just wanted to reach out to you to say thank you, because you're part of just getting me thinking about God and understanding." And her first comment back to me was, "I really was hoping I'd get to run into you in heaven one day. But I'm glad that we get to do this here." Yeah. So one day I hope to really actually meet this lady and give her a hug, because she's part of my rescue story too, God is great. Every day that goes by, he's teaching me temperament and grace and understanding. And I was raised by 2 loving and caring parents that did their best to raise us. And I have kids now, and I see our older ones out doing their thing too, and I see my younger ones, like Ian pointed out, Paisley is up here praising and worshiping. And it brings tears to my eyes, because, I wish I could have got to do that with them, but I didn't. And what I have seen is the changes that I'm making, they do see. Because I haven't had to sit there and go, hey, do this. They ask questions, they do it. My son came to my 16-year-old son came to a Bible study with me because he wanted to know why Dad's doing what Dad's doing. He didn't do it for himself, but he wanted to know what was going on with Dad. Like, why is Dad changing? And, I went to retreats now. I started coming to the church as soon as I got out of jail, so it's been September of last year. And I got baptized, rebaptized. I got to do it with my kids, my daughters. I baptized them, which was an amazing experience for me. And 2 weeks ago, me and my wife did a marriage baptism at a retreat in Clear Lake.
That was fun.
It was cold. It was very cold. And I've been battling a cold ever since. But it was totally worth it. Life-wise, life isn't easy. I am glad that God sent all these messengers. There's a lot more I could say, but I'm just blessed God sent all these messengers. And he's been doing it my whole life. And the longer I stay sober, the more that I see some of the things he did throughout even my teenage years. That, there's no way that he wasn't involved in those decisions. So at the end of this, I just want to say thank Kevin for asking me to speak and for allowing me here, and say God is great, and thank you all.